The sky darkened with an ominous weight, heavy with the promise of a storm unlike any seen before. Rain pelted the wooden structure of the ark, a steady drumming that echoed through its chambers. Within its massive frame, amidst the sounds of restless animals and the murmurs of human voices, a woman moved with quiet determination. She was Naamah, wife of Noah. Her name was rarely spoken, her story barely told, but without her, survival might have been impossible. Long before the first raindrop fell, she had labored beside her husband. While Noah received divine instructions, she saw to the 1,000 details of daily life. Food had to be stored, preserved in ways that would last through an uncertain duration. She had learned to salt and dry meats, to store grains in sealed containers, to gather herbs that could heal. Her hands, calloused from years of work, wove baskets to carry provisions, stitched garments that would withstand the coming storm, and tended to the small injuries of those who toiled alongside her. Each day, as the ark took shape, she watched her husband work tirelessly. Their sons followed his lead, chopping wood, hammering planks, sealing gaps with pitch. She admired their devotion, but understood the weight on Noah's shoulders. They were building not just a vessel, but hope itself. While Noah carried the command of God, she carried the burden of ensuring they could endure it. The mocking stares of neighbors were unbearable at times. They whispered, laughed, called them mad. Some openly ridiculed, others pitied them. Naamah did not falter. She stood beside Noah, her faith woven into every stitch she sewed, every grain she stored, every meal she prepared. She did not need the voices of men to tell her what she already knew. The storm was coming, and they would be ready. Then the day arrived. A deep, unnatural stillness filled the air before the first drop fell. The sky opened, torrents of water crashing down with a fury beyond anything they had known. The earth split, springs bursting forth, as if the world itself wept at what was happening. Panic erupted outside. Those who had mocked now pounded on the sealed door, their cries lost in the deafening roar of the flood. Naamah clutched the hands of her children as the ark rocked violently. The animals shrieked and bellowed, fear gripping them as the water rose. Within the ark there was only trust. Trust that the structure would hold. Trust that the Lord's command would see them through. The smell of wet wood and the thick musk of animals filled the space. It was dark, cramped, filled with the sounds of restless creatures and whispered prayers. The first few days were the hardest. Fear settled like a heavy fog over everyone. The animals, restless in their stalls, required constant care. The people, Noah, their sons, their wives, each carried their own silent burdens. They were safe, yet they mourned. The world they knew was gone. Friends, neighbors, distant relatives, none had made it. The finality of it pressed into their hearts like an unbearable weight. Naamah moved among them, a quiet force of stability. When tempers flared, she smoothed the discord with gentle words. When exhaustion threatened to break their spirits, she reminded them of the life they were preserving. She held the balance, a tether between the past they had left behind and the uncertain future ahead. Days turned to weeks. The storm did not relent at first, and the ark swayed endlessly on the waters. Sleep was difficult. The creaking of the wooden beams, the shifting weight of the animals, the knowledge that outside lay only endless water, all of it made rest elusive. Yet Naamah persisted. She divided their stores carefully, ensuring that rations would last. She checked on the animals, soothed their distress, whispered soft reassurances to them as she fed them by lantern light. When her sons' wives wept in the night, overwhelmed by loss and uncertainty, she held them. She whispered stories of resilience, of faith, of the belief that beyond the storm there would be a dawn. She knew that in this floating refuge, hope had to be nurtured as much as the bodies that carried it. The days stretched into months. The storm eventually quieted, but the waiting continued. When Noah sent out the raven, they all watched anxiously. It did not return, and uncertainty lingered. Then the dove was sent out, and it came back with nothing. Days later, it was sent again. When it returned with an olive leaf clutched in its beak, Nama wept. Not for herself, but for the world that had been lost, for the countless lives washed away, and for the new world they would have to build. Stepping onto dry land, she saw the earth reshaped, the sky clear and vast above them. It was a new beginning, but it was also an ending. She gathered her family, held their hands, and knew her work was not yet finished. The work of rebuilding was grueling. The land was empty, unfamiliar. Structures had to be built, land had to be cultivated, food had to be found. There were no settlements to turn to, no neighbors to trade with. They were alone in the truest sense, the first of a new era. Nama took up her role without hesitation. She gathered seeds, planting them in the soil, whispering prayers as she worked the earth. She taught her daughters-in-law how to care for the young animals born in this new world. She cooked over open flames, shaped clay into vessels, wove fabrics from the wool of the sheep they had saved. She mended what was broken, tended to the sick, and carried on the quiet, unspoken labor that ensured survival. Her sons built, their strong hands shaping homes from what nature provided. Noah, ever faithful, continued to seek guidance from the Lord, ensuring their path remained righteous. And Nama remained the heart of it all. She was the hands that fed, the voice that soothed, the warmth that held them together in the face of an uncertain world. Time passed and life flourished once more. The children grew, the animals multiplied, the land bore fruit. She watched as her sons built families of their own, as laughter returned to their evenings, as the weight of loss was replaced with the hope of the future. She never sought recognition, never asked for her name to be remembered in stories, but her presence was felt in every piece of the world they rebuilt. History would remember Noah, but Nama's mark was written in the survival of every creature that walked off that ark. Her story was not in the words recorded, but in the life that flourished, because she was there. Now, as we look back on the flood, let us not only see the man who built the ark, but the woman who kept it afloat. What do you think her story was like? Share your thoughts in the comments below.